Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am AmalgamAsh, and today I'm going to do the video that you just know I had to do. I'm going to be reading negative or not recommended reviews for RPG developer BAKIN. Before we get started, RPG developer BAKIN is a game development tool that allows anyone to create RPGs using intuitive operations and the advanced features without the need for programming knowledge. Several game asset DLCs are also available, so you can enjoy creating games from the day you purchase it. I haven't written a review for this yet because I feel like I really needed the time to be able to master each of the different categories and watch them grow before I could comment intelligently on them. It's not going to be in a very timely fashion, but I will be leaving a review for this software as soon as I can. But now that you know what BAKIN is, it's time to look at the bad reviews. Now, some folks, the engine's only been out for like a month-ish, and it's in early access. So some folks don't believe that, bad reviews should be able to be written at all. But that's not quite fair. If folks can leave a good review outlining the things that they like and they're looking forward to seeing and responsiveness and things like that, it's perfectly legitimate to also leave a negative review. So what am I doing here today? Well, the main goal is entertainment, but I'm going to be looking at different reviews and kind of seeing if they are smart, if they're measured, if they're accurate, timely, if they're relevant, if they're reviews that really give somebody a lot of information. But I'm reading this from the perspective of a third party. So here we go. So I'm going to read a positive review just to kick things off. This one is from Mutiny, otherwise known as Ilushi's Music and Gaming. They had 1.2 hours at review time, which is pretty slim for a tool of this size and magnitude, but this is a game developer and publisher who used SGB quite a bit, so that's probably a fair amount of time for somebody who basically mastered SGB's usage. I don't know. I still think it was pretty low at the review time, but I think I can get behind the review because it's one of hope. So, early access review, and yes, it's important to restate the engine is in early access and will be because the devs are very busy making sure they give plenty of attention to the feedback and requests and bug reports given by the community right now. I did a video on version 1.0.5 of the engine, and there was literally an update almost every day since then. It's at 1.0.10 now. Anyway, I don't leave reviews often, but really felt like I should for this one. I'm a small game dev who's released some games on the Switch the last few years using a combination of SGB and Unity. Route Me Mail, Isolation Story, and Westwater, all three of those I still have yet to play on the channel. I need to get my setup back here so that I can actually play those games and show them off. I've also helped another dev release their SGB games on the Switch, Adventure Field 4, Eternum Quest, Project Night 1 and 2, for Wadatu Record Studio. SGB was a really nice and relatively flexible piece of software. You can create some varied types of games with it. RPG, basic, RPG, ARPG, but it was missing a few important things. Proper physics, Z-axis for jumping, external scripts unless using Unity Exporter, and more. It was outdated in a few areas and lacked some key customization options that could really help people's projects stand out. In my already short time with RPG developer BAKIN, I can already see just about every flaw that I've had with SGB fixed up. Physics are now properly present. The camera is much more pleasant to use for cutscenes. You can even import your old projects from SGB. It may have some issues though, but it's very welcome to see. Especially when you're mid-development on another game in SGB and would love to see how it looks with some upgrades. So that sets the tone. That's a good, positive, hopeful review. This person took the time to look through and check for the things that SGB was missing, fundamentally understanding that this is a follow-up engine to SGB. All right, first negative review. Let's go. I'm not doing this to out anybody, so I'm not going to worry about showing off their names and things like that. If you are the writer of any particular review that you see in this video, feel free to comment down below. I'm not going to turn this into any sort of witch hunt or anything like that. I will have my own opinions about your review, but such is life. You can have your opinions about my opinions of your review. That's totally fine too. All right, with 8.8 hours on record, which is quite respectable, this is a not recommended. As I tried to get my head around this engine, it is clear that they did not blind playtest at all before launching to the public, like even a little. Some of the many issues. FBX can't import embedded textures. When you delete a model, it leaves junk files in your game that you have to manually hunt down and delete. You can't easily import DLC. Variables can't be floats. Like, come on, guys. The UI will make your eyes bleed, and you will not understand why you can't change a value in one panel and not the next. The folder structure is stuck in Japanese, so you will have to get used to seeing the yen symbol instead of a /. I could go on and on. I did my best to like the engine. There are so many cool features here, but they decided to go for flashy and not for functional. I haven't had this much of a bad time with an early access engine since Pixel Game Maker MV. I might be back once they fix the many issues, but I doubt that will be anytime soon. So, my response, which nobody asked for, not the most helpful review. It does highlight issues, but it does so from a perspective that's not as educated as the 8.8 hours on record would have me believe. The first statement is made in ignorance. It is clear that they did not blind play test at all. There were testers that were on testing the engine for months, such as myself, and there were people who were testing it for well over a year. You could probably guess who those folks were, but the engine was definitely tested. It's just part of the pipeline. Like that comment doesn't help. It's fairly pointless. But one point that I have to make on that is that when you're making a tool of this magnitude, a tool of this usefulness, a tool that gives the developers this much control, it's going to have a lot of room for people to push it in different directions. It's going to have a lot of different people with different use cases attacking it, trying to make it into the tool that they can use for their project, their dream game. And that's the goal. But when you have so many different kinds of people and workflow users and developers coming together to push this thing to its limits, you're going to break it. And you actually do want that to happen. You want the engine to be broken many times, many different ways by many people so that they can give you the feedback that you need to take those breaks and properly facilitate what they want to do so that it can't break. That is what early access is. That's what early access is all about. So you can test an engine of this size as much as you want. You're not going to be able to find all of the problems that the next 15,000 developers are going to find. And that should be a fair point. But the takeaway is that they'll get fixed over time. Anyway, FBX can't import embedded textures. I didn't have any problems importing anything FBX related. I don't know what their issue was. Probably seems like something they could have asked for help about, or maybe they did, and this is something unrelated to what I'm thinking of. But I was able to get stuff off of the Unity Asset Store, off of Humble Bundle, out of SGB, and anything that had textures imported just fine. So I'm not sure what this particular line of complaint is. When you delete a model, it leaves junk files in your game that you have to manually hunt down and delete. So 2 points here. When you delete a model, when you create a model in BAKIN, you are given access now to create its animations or motions and its materials and textures. And the asset picker folder structure is such that these things are left out as their own entities so that they can be reused by other things in the game should you so choose. When you decide this model that I have in here is just not for me, I textured it, I gave it animations, I don't want it anymore, and you delete it, you are given the option by way of a prompt upon deletion that asks you if you'd like to delete the associated materials. And that actually has a second option for you to go out and expand and delete all instances of wherever this thing was. And you can easily delete it at that point. So if you don't want to hunt through all of your files and take things out to ease the amount of menus and folders that you're having to click through to get to the things that you actually need, you'll utilize that feature. If you don't, you can still go through and delete things one at a time. And I encourage you to test this out to see if it fits your workflow. But the second point that I have to make is that none of those unused assets are going to make their way into your game. The engine will cull all of the assets that aren't used. So while I kind of understand that being a point of contention for somebody new to development, I can't quite see it being the second most important thing or the second thing that comes to mind whenever you're leaving a not recommended review. It's more of a feature than it is a problem. All right, the third point, can't easily import DLC. This one is legitimate. You cannot easily import all of the assets from any given DLC like you can in Smile Game Builder. Smile Game Builder was one click, boom, it's all in there. BAKIN, you've got to go comb through all of the individual folders of the DLC and import things folder at a time. There's a better way to do it, but we'll cover that in another video. But yes, this is a legitimate complaint. Variables can't be floats. Like, come on, guys. All right, that's a legitimate complaint. They do not provide you with float variable access or support. You can't put decimal points anywhere. That is pretty unfortunate. You do have integers, and they go pretty high. and you have strings, and you have arrays, but they don't provide support for float variables. The UI will make your eyes bleed, and you will not understand why you can't change a value in one panel and not the next. I would say that you can understand that, because if you're trying to change a value in like the asset picker, you need to wipe the blood from your eyes so that you can actually read the UI on the screen. So one of the things that we all had to wrap our head around was the asset picker. Smile Game Builder's assets, when you go to modify them, they're all in the place to modify the asset is right there with the asset. In BAKIN, when you are selecting a property to attach to another asset, you are given the asset picker. And while you can see the properties of anything that you're clicking on in the asset picker, you can't change them from the asset picker. It's pretty simple once you wrap your head around it. The asset picker does exactly what it says it does, no more and no less. If you want to change the properties of your models, you will go to the models menu. If you want to change the properties of the motions, you're going to go to the motions menu, and so on. But anything you could possibly want to change can be changed in the appropriate menu, not from the asset picker. And so I think that complaint is rooted in that functionality. While it is something a lot of us kind of struggled with in the very beginning when we were introduced to it, it was pretty clear that, okay, this must just not be the correct place to do that. And then once you've wrapped your head around it, like I said, it's second nature. It's like when you select a file from the File Explorer in Windows, you don't have access to everything every single time. You're in a contextual file menu. But anyways, the folder structure is stuck in Japanese. The only problem with this is that they're right, you will see the yen symbol. You can still use the / in places, and when you return to your dialog boxes with their escape codes for colors and size and things like that, you will now see a yen symbol. This was the 6th point made on his not recommended list, or this person, his, her, but I'm not really sure why it's a problem other than a jab, just a jab at the engine. It's not really something that stops you from doing anything. It's just a visual bother. You expect to see a /, you see a yen symbol. I might be back once they fix the many issues, but I doubt that will be anytime soon. Well, of the features listed here, they probably won't, but of the issues, I don't know. They're fixing stuff they are fixing stuff every day, and they're releasing new versions almost every day. All right, a respectable 4.8 hours on record, but 2.4 hours at review time from this reviewer. Still kind of short, but let's see what they have to say. Don't know why, but it's crashing again. Can't open test play or anything from the menu. That sounds like a bug report, not a review, but who am I to gatekeep? Let's continue. All right, 0.3 hours on record. The price is too high for an early access development platform with such a terrible UI. It has amazing potential, and perhaps I'll revisit if they lower the price or clean up the UI. You'll revisit after your 0.3 hours on record if they lower the price? Did you not actually purchase? Oh, you must have returned it. That's right. Steam has that policy. You can use the software for a while, and if you're under, I think it's 2 hours, then you can just return it. So 0.3 hours is 20 minutes, right? It's a little less than 20 minutes. The price was too high for the early access development platform. Well, it's going to be higher when it comes out of early access, so I'm not sure who would be able to find this helpful, because it doesn't address how the UI needs to be cleaned up. And what part of the UI? All of the UI? Just all of it? Just get rid of the UI? Next review, 2.0 hours on record. This one might have been returned. The UI sucks. Your UI designers should take the blame for it. I hope you follow the mainstream on UI, because some of your settings feel like they're hidden, the various aspects of the project. The settings are also assigned to confusing places. You should know that a convenient and intuitive UI is more important when you are making a game engine. Again, not helpful, yet 8 people found this review helpful. God, I'm so glad somebody saved me from the horrible UI. They didn't say anything on how they didn't like it. I just hope you follow the mainstream. What does that even mean? The settings are assigned to confusing places. Okay, this is all going to be very subjective, I guess, in the long run. There's going to be people whose workflows are very different, and of course there's going to be people who find the UI extremely intuitive and useful, and for every one of those, there potentially can be somebody who thinks the complete opposite, and I can respect that. But let's move on. Scathing though. I was disappointed that FPS view mode was required, but not supported in the game I want to make. Why did remove it? It existed SGB. Other than that, there are a lot of shortcomings, so I think I can't use this right now. See you after 2 to 3 years with 80% discount. I'll give that one a funny, because I think they returned it or got their refund with 1.2 hours on record. See you when it drops down to 20% of its purchase price. That feels like an automatic write-off from me, but let's address the actual complaint. The first-person view mode has gone nowhere. It's in the engine. It's easy to go check out, and you can exactly have this exact same functionality that you have in SGB. You can event a button on your keyboard to press so that you go into first-person view. I don't understand what the actual problem is, and they didn't say what the shortcomings were, so not helpful. This review, 0.1 hours at review time. This, my God. I know this reviewer. Okay. I know this reviewer. This reviewer is a troll. This is the one time I will say this about anybody, and I don't mean anything bad towards this person, but they are a major troll. They trolled with SGB. They came into the server and trolled, and they've been in every single game development server that I'm in, only to troll that engine with how they could use it if it just had X and Y feature. They've never made anything. That's a lie. They've made one game. They want to charge $35 for the one game that they made, the one demo game that they made for one of my jams. All right. 10 minutes at review time. Troll, what's your review? Still no mouse control. You must be joking. Yes, there is. It had a long thing to update Microsoft Edge. I mean, why? Probably because the help file opens in Edge and you need to update your Edge. And add Swedish, please. Why? So you can insult it in Swedish? Mad lag as well, meaning they learned nothing from the mistakes of Smile Game Builder. Maybe it's time to update your PC. Maybe. I don't know. 6 people found this review helpful. Is it the same 6 negative reviewers all upvoting each other's reviews? I'm doing this for entertainment and it's working. I'm very entertained. Next, with half an hour on record, this is a not recommended. Here we go. First off, I was excited to see this. It looks very pretty and all, but I wasn't able to get the things I wanted to work, aka first person mode isn't really first person. I can see the wireframe for the player, so someone effed it up. I refunded and won't be touching this again. It's not rocket science. The first person mode has just one setting that could control that field of view, and if you tick that box, you'll boop forward past the wireframe, past the face of your model, and it is true first of all, you're always going to have a camera somewhere on the scene mounted to the head of your character, and if that camera is just a few 0.001 behind the animation or the model of the character and there's no backface culling, you're going to see stuff that you shouldn't see. So just take your camera and move it forward. Yes, they should do that for you by default in the engine, but it's extremely simple to do. You wouldn't know that because you spent 0.5 hours on record before writing the review and saying you won't be touching it again. Sorry that you couldn't afford any time to look for the help you needed to get that issue addressed so you could actually do something. All right, I'm getting spicy. I need to calm down. Let's read something that's positive. 213 hours on record, 57 hours at review time. My experience with RPG developer BAKIN has been amazing thus far. I think the devs have done great work, and it can only go up from here. The software has so much potential. I can't wait to see how it improves and grows from early access to the final product, and I'm here to come along for the ride. That one's nice. That's a breath of fresh air. All right, I'm ready to tackle the other ones. Let's go. Oh, that's it. I actually looked at all of the negative reviews that are available. You know, that wasn't too bad. That was actually okay. The negative reviews that were there weren't super serious. Some of them were just angry because feature A wasn't there. And this was actually fine. I was worried that I was going to see a lot of troll stuff, and I mean, I did see one troll, but that's the same troll that you can just expect to see no matter what game engine it is. It doesn't even matter. That's the sort of thing I thought I would see en masse, but there really hasn't been a lot of horrible feedback. It's been a lot of really constructive feedback, and these folks seem to understand, the positive reviewers seem to understand that You can talk to the devs, you can get involved in the community, and you can address these issues, any of the issues that you have. At least you can try to iron them out, because they truly may be as simple as just taking a setting and nudging it in one direction, and then you're done. You could get on with your life and you'll have learned something at the same time. What a concept. All right, I hope you found this as entertaining as I did. I am going to go. Please support my Patreon, smash like, subscribe, hit that notification bell icon so you know when I'm going live, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye for now.